Ethereum price prediction 2026, dead or the biggest rally? ETH analysis, June 2021, $2,300, June 2026, $1,674, 5 years, zero gains, actually a loss. 8 Ethereum Foundation developers just walked out. The biggest ETH maxi on YouTube sold his bags. Crypto Twitter is calling it ETH is dead. But here's the thing, they've said that before, after the DAO hack, after the 2018 crash, after FTX, every single time ETH came back with the most hated rally in crypto history. So before you sell Ethereum cryptocurrency, you need to watch this video, because what's actually happening beneath the surface right now is the complete opposite of what the headlines are telling you. Is Crypto Ethereum really dying? Let's find out. Crypto radar. Is ETH Crypto really dying? In this Ethereum news today, let me start with a number that tells the whole story. Ethereum price right now, $1,674. That's below where Ethereum Crypto was trading in the middle of 2021, before the bull run even peaked. 5 years later, you're not just back to square one. You're actually sitting at a loss compared to where most people bought during that cycle. And the chart makes it even clearer. ETH price peaked at around $4,800 in late 2021. Today, it's at $1,674. That's a 63% drop from the all-time high, sitting below both the SMA 50 at $2,093 and the SMA 200 at $2,421. To reach its 200-day moving average, Ethereum Coin would need to rally 45% from current levels. That's not recovery, that's just getting back to average. And it gets worse. The headlines this week are brutal. 8 of the biggest names at the Ethereum Foundation just left. Not junior developers, the people who led the merge to proof of stake, the people who ran all the developer calls, the people who shaped Ethereum's tokenomics, gone. And then there's David from Bankless, the guy who literally built an entire media empire around Ethereum, the biggest Ethereum 2026 maxi on YouTube. He came out and said he sold his ETH Crypto. If even the Bankless guy is selling, what does that tell you? On crypto Twitter right now, Ethereum today is being memed relentlessly. People are posting the same price chart over and over. Shorted Ethereum Coin on Friday, you outperformed holding it for 4 years. Bought Google yesterday, same thing. It feels like Ethereum ETH is dying. And honestly, if you're reading the timeline, you'd be forgiven for thinking exactly that. But here's what I've learned about Ethereum. I've been watching this space for a long time, and there is one pattern that repeats itself every single cycle without exception. Every time people pronounce Ethereum Layer 2 dead, every single time ETH bounces back. And when it bounces back, it doesn't just recover quietly, it gives the most hated rally imaginable, the kind that leaves everyone who sold on the sidelines watching in disbelief. We saw it after the DAO hack. We saw it after the 2018 crash. We saw it after FTX collapsed. Every time the narrative was ETH is finished, Ethereum Crypto came back harder. So before we write the obituary, let's actually look at what's happening beneath the surface, because while retail is selling, institutions are buying. Tom Lee's company just bought 126,971 ETH Coin during last week's dip. Not a small position, not a speculative trade, a major institutional accumulation of ETH Crypto at current prices. And Tom Lee isn't alone. Right now, 11% of all Ethereum in existence is sitting in the hands of treasury companies and ETFs. 11%. That means 1 in every 9 ETH tokens is being held by institutional players, not crypto traders, not retail speculators, but regulated financial entities that have done their due diligence and decided ETH belongs in their portfolio. For comparison, think about where Michael Saylor was in 2022. Bitcoin at $16,000. Headlines screaming that crypto was dead, everyone mocking him. And now, Saylor is a hero. Tom Lee is doing for ETH exactly what Saylor did for Bitcoin, accumulating aggressively while everyone else is panicking. So, what's actually going on? The honest answer is Ethereum is going through a transition, and transitions are always messy, always scary, and always look terrible from the outside while they're happening. The developers leaving the foundation, there's a real story behind that. The price going nowhere for 5 years, there's a real reason for that too. And the roadmap that's being built right now, it's more significant than most people realize. That's what this video is going to break down. Is ETH dead? Or is this exactly the setup that precedes the most hated rally in crypto history? Let's find out in part 2. ETH news. What is the market missing out on? So the headlines look terrible. The price has gone nowhere. 8 foundation developers just left. Even the bankless guy sold. But before you hit that sell button, let me ask you one question. Do you actually understand what happened at the Ethereum Foundation? Or are you just reading the headlines? Because I promise you, the two are very different things. Let's talk about what actually happened. The Ethereum Foundation has been at the center of ETH Crypto since the beginning. For years, it was everything. The communications arm, the development arm, the coordination arm, the grants arm. It tried to be the backbone of the entire Ethereum protocol. But here's the thing, Ethereum grew fast. It outgrew the foundation. And at some point, the foundation became more of a burden than a benefit. A fat, expensive organization trying to coordinate a global protocol that had already moved beyond what any single organization could control. So last year, they made a decision, streamline the foundation, remove it from everything except protecting Ethereum's core mission, reduce its role, let the protocol become more decentralized. And in that transition, people left. But here's what the headlines aren't telling you. The replacements were already in place before anyone started leaving. This wasn't a collapse, this was a planned transition. Vitalik Buterin himself wrote about it, saying the Ethereum Foundation should become one node among many, not the be-all and end-all of ETH Cryptocurrency. And who were the people leaving? This is the part that really matters. The developers who left weren't the ones building Ethereum's future. Many of them were the ones who wanted Ethereum to become more like Solana. Faster, more competitive on transaction costs, more aggressive in chasing short-term narratives, and ETH Ethereum said no, because Ethereum's entire value proposition isn't speed. It isn't cheap transactions. It's security, decentralization, and trust. And the people who built their entire worldview around making Crypto Ethereum chase Solana narratives, they don't fit that mission anymore. As Vitalik interview put it, nearly 90% of his net worth is still in ETH. He's not abandoning ship, he's cleaning house. This brings us to the most important concept for understanding ETH 2026. The bug is the feature. As crypto investors, we look at Ethereum's slowness and we see a problem. We look at its long roadmap and we see missed opportunities. We look at the fact that it can't beat Hyperliquid on perps or Solana on memecoins, and we get frustrated. But here's what we're missing. That's not the audience Ethereum protocol is playing to anymore. Think about what regulated financial institutions actually want when they're deploying client capital onto a blockchain. They don't want the fastest chain. They don't want the cheapest transactions. They want to know exactly what they're getting. They want rules that don't change overnight. They want a network that's been battle tested for years and never gone down. They want security that comes from real decentralization, not 734 validators like Solana, but 891,000 validators around the world. The same thing that makes Bitcoin valuable, predictability, stability, resistance to change, is now becoming Ethereum's core value proposition for institutional money. The thing we've been calling a bug, TradFi is calling it a feature, and the data backs this up completely. Ethereum's share of the total value locked TVL in DeFi compressed from 63.5% at the start of 2025 to around 54% as of May 7th, hovering near the lowest level recorded since May 2025. Over 50% of all stablecoins in circulation live on Ethereum. And when it comes to real-world asset tokenization, the fastest growing sector in crypto, Ethereum has 53% market share. Over 50% of all stablecoins in circulation live on Ethereum. And when it comes to real-world asset tokenization, the fastest growing sector in crypto, Ethereum has 52% market share. BlackRock launched its first tokenized fund on Ethereum, not Solana, not BNB, Ethereum. Robinhood chose to build its Layer 2 on Arbitrum, an Ethereum rollup. Coinbase backed Ethereum network base to dump Optimism Tech as potential token looms. So why is the Ethereum price still going nowhere? This is the honest part, and it's important. ETH Coin is going through a transition from a crypto-native speculative asset to a TradFi-grade institutional asset. And those two audiences want completely different things. The crypto traders who chased ETH price for dopamine rushes and 10x narratives, they're leaving. They're going to Solana. They're going to Hyperliquid. They're going wherever the hot narrative is right now. And the institutions, the Tom Lees, the Blackrocks, the regulated entities, they're slowly, quietly taking that supply. 11% of all ETH coin is now in institutional hands. That number was near zero just 2 years ago. This is exactly what happened with Bitcoin between 2020 and 2022. Retail was frustrated, price was going nowhere, and then one day, the institutional accumulation reached a tipping point and the price reflected reality. Crypto Ethereum isn't dead. ETH 2026 is changing hands. From the people who wanted it to be something it's not, to the people who understand exactly what it is. And that's why what's being built on the roadmap right now. What is ETH Crypto doing to push the price up? So ETH isn't dying. The market is misreading the situation. But that still leaves the most important question unanswered. What is actually going to move the Ethereum price? Following Ethereum technical analysis, there are two key points. What's being built and who's buying? Let's go through both. First, Ethereum update roadmap. Glamsterdam is the next major upgrade, and it introduces parallelization. Right now, Ethereum processes transactions one at a time, like a single-lane highway. Glamsterdam changes that by processing multiple transactions simultaneously, multiple lanes at once. Target 10,000 transactions per second. Faster performance, more predictable costs, a network that handles heavy traffic without slowing down. After that comes Hegota, making nodes 87% lighter by removing the need to store the entire blockchain history. More people can run nodes. Network becomes more decentralized. Infrastructure gets significantly more efficient. Then there's the issuance reduction proposal. ETH supply currently grows at 0.8% per year, same as Bitcoin right now. But Bitcoin is halving to 0.4% in 2 years. If nothing changes, ETH coin inflation goes higher while Bitcoin drops. The fix on the table: cut ETH crypto issuance to 0.5%, making Ethereum a harder, scarcer asset. Grayscale already said publicly this would be bullish for ETH long-term. And finally, quantum resistance. Bitcoin and Solana have no quantum roadmap. Crypto Ethereum has a 2029 deadline for full post-quantum resistance. For any institution deploying serious capital onto infrastructure that needs to last decades, this is exactly the kind of long-term thinking they want to see. Now, the numbers that tell a different story. Here's one that surprises most people. Total net assets in Ethereum ETF reached $9.36 billion, about 4.59% of Ethereum's market cap, highlighting growing adoption as a regulated way to gain ETH exposure, and the accumulation keeps going, and the macro backdrop is aligning. ISM manufacturing PMI just hit 54, highest in over a year. Every strong crypto period in history happened during economic expansion. That condition is being met right now. One macro signal that often gets overlooked is the record amount of cash sitting on the sidelines. As of March 2026, total money market funds have climbed to roughly $8.3 trillion, marking a new all-time high. That means an enormous pool of institutional capital is still parked in low-risk, highly liquid assets instead of chasing returns in risk markets. If financial conditions improve and investor sentiment shifts, even a small rotation of that capital into risk assets could have a significant impact. For ETH news, the setup is particularly compelling. With spot ETF access, growing adoption from traditional finance, and an increasingly mature institutional infrastructure, Crypto Ethereum is well positioned to attract a meaningful share of that liquidity once money starts flowing back into the market. Roadmap shipping, institutions accumulating, macro aligning, the pieces are coming together. But the real question is whether all of this translates into a reason to hold ETH Crypto in your portfolio right now. ETH price prediction. Should you hold ETH? This is the part where I give you a straight answer. No hype, no hopium. Should you hold ETH Coin right now? The honest answer is, it depends on what kind of investor you are. And I mean that genuinely, not as a disclaimer, but as the most useful thing I can tell you. If you're here chasing short-term narratives, ETH is probably not for you. ETH doesn't win the meme coin game. It doesn't win the perps game. Every cycle there's a faster, shinier chain capturing the hot narrative, and ETH almost always misses it. If you need to see price move fast to stay interested, ETH is going to frustrate you. It always has. As one analyst put it, every time I hold ETH, I feel like I'm missing out on narratives. That feeling isn't going away anytime soon. Look at the chart right now. ETH is at $1,674. Below the SMA 50 at $2,093. Below the SMA 200 at $2,421. Down roughly 58% from the November 2024 high of around $4,000. But if you have a longer time horizon, the picture looks very different. Institutional dry powder waiting on the sidelines. When that starts rotating into risk assets, ETH with its ETF access, its TradFi adoption, its institutional infrastructure is positioned to capture a meaningful share of that flow. So what should you actually do? If you don't own ETH Crypto and you're considering it, following Ethereum analysis, ETH price could still go to $1,400, $1,500 before it goes higher. If you still believe Ethereum update and its potential in the future, you can consider Ethereum as a long-term property. But you're not buying at $4,000 with maximum hype. Or if you see it is no longer reliable and you can't hold through this period, you have no money to maintain your living standards. Don't size your position larger than you're comfortable with, or even you can skip ETH Crypto, it's okay. If you already hold ETH Coin, the question is whether you understand why. If your thesis is short-term price action, the frustration is going to continue. If your thesis is long-term institutional adoption, the data is actually playing out exactly as expected. The institutions are here. The infrastructure is being built. The macro is aligning. The bottom line. ETH Coin is not the most exciting asset in crypto right now. It never is mid-cycle. But as one analyst put it, every time in the past where we've written off ETH, Ethereum has given us some kind of rally. The most hated assets at the bottom of a cycle have historically been the best opportunities at the top of the next one. Whether that plays out again, only time will tell. But the data right now is saying don't write off ETH. Okay, that is the content for video Ethereum price prediction today. We analyzed fairly obviously about ETH Crypto, ranging from Ethereum analysis, ETH price, and what should we do in this period. And now, please drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts on the future of Ethereum news today. The content shared in these videos is based on information I've gathered and my personal opinions and is not investment advice. Those investing in crypto should exercise extreme caution, conduct thorough research before investing, and take responsibility for their decisions. We are Crypto Radar. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with the latest crypto trends. Thanks for watching Ethereum price prediction, and we'll see you in the next video.